everybody, Ramey here, and in this video I'm going to talk about game development from an instructional designer's point of view. Because I want to talk about, what like an e-learning specialist, multimedia developer, instructional designer, what their role really is in game development. So first of all, game development is very difficult. It can range. I mean, there are easy ways to do it, but when I think of like a game, I'm thinking of like a blockbuster game. It's really, really complicated to develop. The highest levels of game development, like trying to create your own version of World of Warcraft or League of Legends or something like that. Let's just put it this way. A student who is a professional game programmer, it's hard for them to do it. It's very difficult. It's not an easy task to develop games. It's quite extensive programming, and it's also working with a game engine and a bunch of different things like images, lighting, movement, physics. There are so many things that go into it that it becomes very complicated. It is not an easy task to do. So, as an instructional designer, I expect you to do one of three things, and possibly a combination of all three. But this is your role. This is what you are going to be doing, unless your job is specifically a programmer or game developer. You're going to design complicated games and simulations, and you will hand your designs, your storyboards off to a programming team or work with them so that they will develop them. This is very common, something I've done professionally a number of times. The next thing you could be doing is designing and developing games. I said designing and developing using some type of very simple or some kind of drag and drop game engine. I know a number of instructional designers using software like this. Sometimes it's proprietary game engines or something off the shelf. And they design and create some really awesome looking, cool games that almost look as good as blockbusters. The software they use is really simple to develop with, and there might be some programming or logic of programming, but it's something that they're able to overcome and develop some really cool stuff. Third option. And the third option is designing and developing games using simple tools like PowerPoint, Captivate, Articulate. Not overly complicated games, but games that allow your audience or your user base to just have some fun while they're, learning, not necessarily trying to develop like a full-blown simulation or something like that. So those are really the three places instructional designers fit in game development. Okay, so there are tons of game engines out there. I mean, literally like an endless list of game engines out there. And I couldn't say like, this is the game engine you're going to use most often, because if you're like you're working in the military or you're working on like corporate or you're in higher ed or K-12, wherever you are, like that will differ significantly, and it differs significantly based on your budget and what kind of team you have and everything else. I can tell you the most popular one, and that's Unity. But that doesn't mean that's what you're going to use. I've used Unity professionally, but I've also have worked in other units or talked to alumni who are using different game engines designed for like one specific task that they're using. But the key is games are developed with a game engine. Game engines are designed to make development a little easier by combining everything into one. They combine the programming, combine the physics, combine the 3D or animation, all into one piece of software to make it so that, it's a little easier to develop a game. Now, I want to take a look and just show you the list of game engines just so you can see just how many there are. And this is just a list off of Wikipedia, but I'm going to scroll down here. You can see how many there are. I mean, there's hundreds. So this is why I'm not just showing you one game engine, because depending on what you're actually going to do, what your goals are, is going to differ on what you recommend. So you can see there's just tons and tons and tons of them. Okay, so those are the game engines. Now for authoring software, this is software that instructional designers use all the time. We can develop really simple games with this stuff. Like we can use Adobe Animate, which is what Flash, it's the new version of Flash, they rebranded it. Adobe Animate, which can get complicated because you can program and there is a lot involved. It's almost basically as complicated as many of the game engines. But I just want to mention it as an authoring tool because it's something that we can use. Articulate and Captivate, they each have some pre-built in like simple game type like features in them, and we can make some games with them as well. Additionally, PowerPoint, same thing. Like I can make Jeopardy in PowerPoint and some other games like that. Game elements within it. And then I just threw in MIT App Inventor here, which is a nice, it's really geared towards education because that's where I see it used. I really haven't seen it used professionally, but you can develop really nice, simple games, that are apps available on Android. And I just wanted to throw it in there just because it's a free tool. It's nice. And I know some of my audience is K-12 and higher ed. It's not always about what a company's using. So I did want to throw that in there as well. And then finally, a final option for game development, and this really is for the K-12 higher ed audience, because in corporate these probably aren't really going to work. You'd have to be really creative to make them. But what's happening is games are making the ability to actually create games within them. So the biggest example, the most popular that everyone knows is Minecraft, because you can go into Minecraft and you can create a whole world. You can create a game. You can create whatever your imagination really allows. You can create it in Minecraft. I've seen some amazing, amazing games in Minecraft that people have created, amazing things. Another really popular one with kids is Roblox. I've talked about Roblox before. Creating a game in Roblox is really simple. My 8-year-old son can create like a maze game in like 10 minutes. Very simple to do. Roblox has some issues with parental controls that I'm finding. So, it's one game you have to watch out for, but there's Minecraft and Roblox, just amazing, the stuff you can create. I just wanted to include these two just because they both have the ability to make games. One is Halo and one is Super Mario Maker. And those are both games that are basically designed to create other games in them. It's kind of why one of the reasons they both become really popular. Halo's a Microsoft Xbox, a first-person shooter, but you can develop your own games within it. It's really neat. And Super Mario Maker is designed to make Super Mario Brothers levels. It's really cool. But you can make your own games with it in it. So there's a lot of software, games to make games. And these are just some of the more popular ones, but there's other ones out there. So just a real quick rundown. To make a game, you use a game engine. Game engines can be very simple, like they can be drag and drop and pretty easy to use. They can work on your mobile device, your computer, or they can be really complicated and involve tons of programming and get really sophisticated, involve like 3D software and working in wires and 3D layouts and physics and math and be very complicated. And then there's authoring tools, common software instructional designers use, where we can develop some really simple games with them. And then finally, there's games to make games, which is like more the education audience, but there's like that Minecraft and Roblox. And that's it. Thank you very much.